A long time ago, I raised a son to know his levy from his Levison.
Now we're turning our arguments into content. This is I Am Your Father, where Gen X meets Gen Z in the Upside Down.
Ooh.
All right.
How are you, son?
I am doing good, especially now that it's a new year. Ended the year off with a little bit of Stranger Things in the theaters. Happy New Year, by the way. Happy
New Year to you, too.
Yes.
And, we are recording this on New Year's Day.
Yes, we are.
For release a few days later. But you've just gotten back home. You've been visiting me.
Yes.
And we got to do some fun stuff in the theaters, which you talked about in the last episode. But I think we should spend a couple minutes. First of all, let me introduce our topic. We're going to be covering Stranger Things, as sort of hinted at by Braden's intro. The finale the conclusion to the whole series.
Let's go.
Yeah, but anyway, we did get to see something else that was pretty cool, and I thought we should talk about it a little bit. We went to Cosm in Los Angeles, and we saw the Matrix shared reality experience. This was also the first time that several of the people that we took, several of our loved ones, was the first time they'd seen the movie.
Yeah.
And so what were your thoughts on this? Can describe it a little bit for our audience.
I mean, we've only been talking about this since April, by the way. I was going through my Google Photos yesterday. My wife and I, we do this thing every year where we look through all of our pictures to remember like what we did the year, and then we pick like a favorite memory from each month.
Yeah.
And I found the first picture of the Matrix thing at the Cosm back in April.
That I'd sent you?
No, that I had posted on an episode. So
okay.
We've been talking about it almost since we've started the podcast, which is hilarious.
That's interesting.
Anyways, it was just so cool. I mean, I was already so excited. My expectations were super high, and it was one of the coolest experiences ever. I didn't expect it to be as in depth as it was. I knew, as immersive as it was, I knew it was going to like expand certain things. So I knew we were going to see like the buildings in some shots and like the coding and other shots, but I didn't expect that when a headlight hit the camera, that a giant headlight was going to hit the whole room and stuff like that. Like little moments like that.
Yeah.
Or when Neo does like his little flex and the camera distorts, the whole room distorts and then comes back. It was almost the little quick moments for me that really were just the massive cherry on top.
Yeah. There were so many subtle points like that throughout. And I think I had just an insanely massive smile on my face the entire time.
I know. My cheeks were hurting from smiling. I kept looking over at you and I'm just like, oh my God.
It was really cool. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, you should check it out. COSM. They have locations in Los Angeles and Dallas right now only. I think they are expanding, but this is The Matrix, the full movie, unedited. It didn't seem edited to me at all. I was worried edited. It might be cut. I didn't see any changes to the film, but the screen goes from like below you, it wraps around you and goes over the top of you. And as you're watching it in the box, like a normal movie screen size, it comes to life off of the screen and just completely envelops you. I thought it was fantastic. The folks at Cosm, whoever put this together, they did just an absolutely amazing job.
Incredible.
It really, to me, is kind of a definitive viewing experience. I can't honestly think of a film that is more perfect for this type of viewing experience.
Yeah.
Like, the idea is that you are like living in this alternate reality, this false reality. And so, as it bends and breaks, you slowly become aware of it if you're in the film.
Yeah.
And I think that they did a really great job of actually like translating that to the audience.
Yeah. I think that
better ways than ever.
I think that'd be a fun little list to make, not on the podcast or anything, but just sit down and think like, what are 10 movies that could just be incredible in this format?
Yeah.
But I agree. I don't know how I'm ever going to watch The Matrix again. I think I'm just going to have to drop money every time I want to see The Matrix.
I hope they keep doing it. I'm not sure. There's been talk about them moving on from the Matrix shared reality experience. I know they've recently added Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yep.
and to their thing. It's really similar, I think, also to what was done at the Sphere with the Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm.
But I heard that with the Wizard of Oz, it was an edited down version, and they made some really strange choices as far as the additions in the reality. But anyway, yeah, if you're in LA, if you're coming to LA, or if you're in the Dallas area, you should fully check this out if it's still around. I thought it was one of the coolest theatrical experiences I've ever had.
Yeah.
And coming right on the heels of Avatar in IMAX 3D, it was a really cool combination of things. It was like two just really unique theater experiences, one after another.
Yeah, so I, in about the last week, saw Avatar, Fire and Ash, 3D IMAX,
Mm-hmm.
Matrix at the Cosm, immersive reality.
Mm-hmm.
Then I saw Marty Supreme.
Yeah.
And now I saw the Stranger Things finale last night in theaters.
Yeah,
It's been a good week of theater experience for me.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I'm with you on 3 of those 4. Unfortunately, I haven't seen Marty Supreme yet. I'm really looking forward to that. But I want you to save your review of it, other than I know that it's positive. Yeah, should we get into our main topic today?
Let's do it. I'm excited. I really am.
All right. Yeah, we've got all things Stranger today, and we are going to cover a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about our rehash our thoughts on Volume 1. We haven't talked about Volume 2 yet on the pod, so we'll cover that briefly. But I think we're going to spend the majority of our time focusing on Volume 3, or the final episode, and our overall thoughts on where Stranger Things sort of how it ended and where it sits in the pantheon of television.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So I can go ahead and just start.
Talk about Volume 1.
Yeah, I'll start with a refresher on our thoughts on Volume 1. So I pretty much immediately, it seems the online consensus was disappointed overall.
Yeah.
For pretty much right from the beginning. We talked on the podcast that we were both pretty happy with Volume 1, right?
Well, so hold on. You're saying you feel like the online consensus is that Volume 1 was disappointing?
Season 5 as a whole. I've been seeing
I really
negativity
feel like,
from the beginning.
I feel like I was seeing more positivity on Volume 1. The negativity really started to come in hard for Volume 2.
It ramps up. But that being said, Volume 1 was really fun. I loved how we just jumped straight into the action. I felt like a lot of characters were acting much more like themselves coming off of Season 4 into Season 5, which I really appreciated. I loved where the story left off. I loved, the homages to Home Alone and The Great Escape. And then obviously the way that Volume 1 ends with the Sorcerer, that episode as a whole, but especially the last 10, 15 minutes of that episode, top tier Stranger Things in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's one of the best episodes in the whole show.
I agree.
And so I was very hot off of Volume 1. I was very excited. And the reveals, the reveal that Will had powers and the way he used them and everything like that, I was at an all-time high on Stranger Things.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Volume 1 was strong. I was really excited. I got off to a little bit of a slow start for me. I think I talked on the podcast about struggling a little bit with a few of the performances and even maybe some of the wigs and things like that. I had trouble getting into it initially, but by the second episode, I was fully enthralled. And when it capped off, episodes 3 and 4 of Volume 1 were absolutely phenomenal, and it ended on such a high note. I think you and I were both super hyped. Everything related to Will, everything related to that final episode, The Sorcerer, was just super hot. Well, I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, it's one of the best episodes in the whole show. It really is.
Yeah. So then, personally, I found Volume 2 pretty disappointing and underwhelming.
Okay.
What were your thoughts there?
Yeah, I definitely thought it was a step down from Volume 1. Yeah. And I have one friend specifically, Bo, shout out, you jerk, who has made it his mission to make sure that I admit that Volume 2 was horrible. And so he just keeps bombarding me with, reels of every issue with Volume 2 and everything like that. I don't know. I was hearing all the negativity. And I really, at the end of the day, enjoyed Volume 2. I didn't think it was the best by any means. I thought it had a lot of issues, especially a ton of nitpicks. But as a whole, I was entertained all the way throughout. I didn't think it was as strong, but I didn't think it was the heaping pile of garbage that everybody else seemed to have thought it was. So I can't really relate to this I hate season 5 narrative that is going around everywhere right now.
Well, I guess I got to say Bo knows something, because I tend to agree with him a little bit more. I thought Volume 2 was trash, especially
Total
relative.
Trash, huh?
Well, I mean, relative to the high we just came off of Volume 1, I thought it was super, it was a big letdown. It was a huge letdown. And there were a lot of things that really bothered me. One, I think it was exposition heavy. It was. There was so much talking, and it was just not a lot of action. It was at times outright boring, and the writing was occasionally pretty sloppy, so much so that I think in the aftermath of Volume 2, I saw the internet as a whole just a combination of this thing sucks to the apologists really going out of their way to try and give the Duffer Brothers an insane amount of credit and grace,
right?
In trying to make sense of all this different like sloppy writing. Like the fan theories were absolutely nuts, and the tiny little details people were latching on to say, "Oh, but the Duffer Brothers are really trying to pull one over on us. This was bad writing on purpose."
Yeah,
I didn't buy it, and almost none of those predictions turned out to be true,
right?
At all. And so I thought it was hilarious how people just really wanted to make sense of it, and it, to me, is indicative of fan culture in general. At the end of the day, it was just subpar writing. I think we just can't call it anything but that.
Yeah, I will say this. Again, I'm not going to sit here and defend it all day long. It was full of issues. It really was. I just don't think that it was anywhere near the worst of Stranger Things. And so you say it was garbage, and I guess I'm kind of curious, was it just garbage, period, or garbage to the standard you're holding Stranger Things? Like, if you just took Volume 2 and watched it as a show outside of the heights of Stranger Things, would it still be horrible, or was it just not on par?
Yeah, I mean, I that's a good question. I think it's somewhere in between there. I think it was just it was just not particularly good, but it was still better than, I don't know, CBS procedural dramas. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not going to, I don't want to like compare this to 911 or something. It's not like that nonsense, but it wasn't up to the standard of the show. And I think that matters. I think that they have established a certain level of quality. That's why we're going, hell, that's why we bought $20 concession vouchers to go see the finale in a movie theater.
Right.
This is antithetical to the entire streaming idea, right? We're going to get up and go see it in a theater instead of watch it the moment. It's not like we even got early access, right?
Right. No, that's true.
So I think that it's fair that I hold them to that standard, to their own standard, the standard that they set.
Okay, that's fair. So we've dumped on it.
Well, one last thing I want to bring up on Volume 2 before I go, because it carries into 3, and I still don't get it.
Okay, I'm still going to be on 2 for a minute. I want to say a few things about it. But go ahead. I was just going to say, I do think that Volume 2 had some really important and great moments throughout.
All right, hit me.
I think, obviously, the pace at which Max and Holly were escaping Vecna's mind was rather frustrating.
Yeah.
That was. But the scene between Max and Lucas, especially Caleb's acting when Max made it back to the real world, back to reality or whatever you might say, I thought was really incredible. I thought the sequence in the hospital, although the way it ended, I'm a little iffy on, but the whole sequence, very Jurassic Park, like nodding towards Jurassic Park in a lot of ways. Everything having to do with that I thought was really great. The tensions and stakes felt very high, which I appreciated. I thought the explanation or the hints we were getting at Henry's backstory, I was super on board with. And then also, I do want to touch on this while we're here because I think it's really interesting. The episode, The Bridge, where we get our answers, right? We find out exactly what the upside down is. They make their whole plan. That's what this episode is the lowest rated episode on IMDb ever, which is hilarious when the episode
ever for Stranger Things.
For Stranger Things, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious when the episode The Lost Sister in season 2 exists, because that episode is garbage. And The Bridge is not garbage. It's really not. And I think just what I'm wanting to touch on is the fact that I truly believe that this episode is being review bombed for one very specific reason, and that being that it took about 10 minutes to focus on Will Byers coming out to his friends and family.
Yeah. I mean, it's a super important moment for the character. I think it's ultimately great. It did feel, I don't know. I don't even know that I necessarily have the right to make this critique, but it just didn't. It felt a little poorly handled to me. But again, I'm going to go back to this word sloppy. It felt a little sloppy to me.
Why do you think?
Well,
I'm not trying to trap you or anything. I'm just curious.
I think that one, this wasn't a secret to us as an audience.
Right.
Right. And so I guess I feel like they drug it out a little long in a way for us, as if it was a reveal to us as well, rather than just a reveal to the characters. It's really, there's a real big difference between how you reveal something to an audience and how you reveal something to characters. And when we as an audience know something that our characters don't know, we don't need to have our hand held throughout to get there, because the way that the characters do, we need them to kind of get through it, and we need the characters to, as quickly as possible, catch up to the level of knowledge that we have. I think the pacing was a little off. I think the dialogue was not as good as it could have been, the editing. And so I just think it was a little sloppy. It could have been handled a little bit better so that we as an audience could get the satisfying conclusion and love and support this character the way that we do. So that's all. I just think it was a little sloppily handled.
So you think important moment handled poorly?
Yes, important moment, crucial moment to the series, crucial moment to the character,
and the finale.
Crucial moment, and the finale, and crucial moment culturally, I think, as well. But just handled not as well as it could have been, not as sophisticated as it could have been handled.
Okay, so is it the worst episode in the whole show? By a long shot?
No, I don't agree. I agree with what you said earlier about The Lost Sister being significantly worse, and there's probably other episodes as well that aren't as good.
Because just for a little comparison, everybody hates Volume 2, apparently, right? Everybody hates Volume 2. The other two episodes were rated, except me, but the other two episodes have an 8 and an 8.1 on IMDb, but The Bridge has a 5.5. Like, they're saying Volume 2 is so bad, but there's a huge gap there. So I like, to me, that's a clear review bomb.
I agree with your take on that. I agree. I think that there were things that were not handled well. I think that the writing was sloppy. I think that it was disappointing relative to the high highs that we'd gotten from Volume 1, but I don't think that it represents the low of the series.
Okay. You had one more thing you wanted to say on Volume 2, yeah?
Yeah, I think there were aspects of the science that I struggled with. I struggled to understand. And by that, I mean the science of the show, not trying to make them make sense
in reality.
Okay. I still don't have any concept of how to make sense of the gray goo, where it was coming from, what it was, what its properties were, what it decided to melt and what it didn't decide to melt, how long it stayed in people's hair and clothes. Everything about the gray goo made no sense to me at all and seemed very, very distracting, considering they'd already established so many other things they could have used in its place.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess another thought is, we have this, I'm forgetting what they call it, but something matter, like chaos matter. Let's just say it's chaos matter, because that's not what it's called, but this thing that's holding the upside down, the bridge together, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm very curious where this came from, first of all.
Yeah, they never explained it.
And second of all, it's explained as though Dr. Brenner was either extremely aware of it or created it in a way through experimentation. But he was never, as far as we know, in the Upside Down. Like, there's just a lot about that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And you're right. The actual logistics of how the goo works, very, very strange. I will say quickly, because we're talking about the goo, I did think the scene between Nancy and Jonathan was really good. And I think it really highlighted that those two actors, and it makes sense because they've been together for years, have really, really great chemistry. And so that
so much as they were able to effectively portray a lack of chemistry.
Yeah. But in doing so...
the characters haven't had chemistry for a long time.
Right. But in that moment, like, that was the most chemistry they've had in a long time, and it was because they were finally being honest, right? So that scene I did appreciate, and also we're going to have to, like, put a pin in a certain point of that moment, specifically the ring that he tosses away, and we'll come back to that a little later.
Where the goo has hardened?
Where the goo has hardened, and the ring is now laying on top of the concrete goo.
Yeah.
And then one last thing, I guess, about Volume 2, for me at least, is they bring back pretty much the most hated, unintentionally hated, I'll say, because they introduce characters that you're supposed to hate every single season, right?
Right.
But a character you were never intended to hate, Collie, 8, is brought back and immediately hated again. Like, and I was kind of on board with this, where every time that character was saying anything or on screen, I was just kind of like, get out of here. It wasn't working for me. So much so to the point where the most commonly agreed upon theory going into the finale was she was a traitor. She was a spy. Something shifty was going on with her. And I guess I will just say, moving into the finale, spoiler alert now, that was not the case. And so I just thought it was funny that they brought back this character that everybody hated in the name of not having loose ends, just for everybody to hate her again.
And they mishandled it, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, she was given almost nothing to do. It was an interesting reveal, I guess, but I didn't feel very earned.
In Volume 1.
I think it was... Yeah, okay. I think it was the weak point of Volume 1.
Agreed.
To give us that reveal as if it was a character that we had been waiting for all along. And it wasn't, because, it seemed like with, what was it, season 2? That they had introduced her and immediately dispatched her, and her name was never mentioned again, to my recollection. I don't really, do you remember, has it ever come up since that episode?
Yeah, I really don't think so. If so, like, maybe Elle mentions it one time or something like that.
Yeah. So it just didn't feel earned. I wasn't emotionally invested in her at all, or her relationship to Elle. And so, it felt like unnecessary baggage to be carrying through volumes 2 and 3.
Especially to do almost nothing. Like, yeah, she uses her abilities for, like, in a few ways, but I feel like if you bring back a character from so long ago that nobody really cares about, you got to do something big. And the theories were really interesting. I mean, could she be the one making everybody see the wall? Like, what's beyond the wall? Could she have some kind of link to the mind flare, seeing her ability is to be, like, get in people's minds? And, like, there were all these theories around her of something big that she could do, or some big reveal surrounding her. And there wasn't.
Yeah, I agree.
Total mishandling.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. This kind of carries us into Volume 3.
Let's do it.
But before we get into the actual episode, I thought it'd be fun to talk a little bit about the viewing experience.
Absolutely.
That we both had, because we both went to theaters. We went to 2 different theater chains. But we went and saw the series finale for a Netflix streaming show in a movie theater. What was your experience like? I mean, up until, let's say, the start of the film.
Okay. So right away, I was super happy. I'm looking at the showings.
Yeah.
Every single showing, Stranger Things. I'm not even kidding you. I think there were close to 50 showings yesterday of Stranger Things in that theater.
In the one theater you went to.
In the one theater I went to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So many that there were duplicate times. Like there was another showing that started at the same exact time as my showing.
Yeah.
Which pretty rare. And so I show up, it's packed, right?
Yeah.
The line for concessions is the longest I've ever seen it. I sent you a picture of a portion of the concession stand or like the candy area, and it was ravaged. Like there was barely anything left. There was just, for the first time, honestly, I think since maybe Endgame, maybe No Way Home, but especially Endgame, like top tier Marvel, the first time this sense of excitement and community and unity over this thing that everybody was going to experience together. And I think that it's so funny that it was for, as you mentioned, the finale to a Netflix streaming series.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It was really, really cool.
I agree. I mean, I have not personally seen a theater this packed since, I'm going to say, The Phantom Menace.
Wow.
Yeah, like it was absolutely insane. And I'm sorry to be critical, but man, the AMC that I was at in Orange was woefully unprepared for this experience. I mean,
they have access to the pre-sale tickets. They know who's showing up.
Listen, and on top of that, because of the whole thing with the concession vouchers and the way that they had to do this to get around the residuals, they also knew that every single person there was going to want to get their $20 or whatever worth of concessions. This particular AMC kind of, you walk in, there's a concession stand, and then if you go down, the theater splits in two, and on the end of long aisles, they have additional concession stands, both of which were closed.
Yeah. So
there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in line to use their $20 vouchers. And the line just to get to the front was the staff was saying 45-minute wait to get to the front of the concession stand.
Crazy.
Super, super stupid, I think, on behalf of AMC. I think the whole thing was a really cool experience other than that. I did figure out that they had a bar at the AMC, and I noticed that the bar had a slab of water bottles and also some M&Ms and peanut M&Ms. And so I thought, you know what, nobody seemed to realize that the bar had its own separate line. So I snuck around, I got in line there. I was able to use some of the vouchers to get a bunch of waters and some M&Ms, but did not get the popcorn, unfortunately.
That is a bummer. That is a bummer.
Yeah, you can't wait 40. I mean, listen, we got to the theater with 20 minutes to spare, but wasn't sure that I had no idea if they were going to give us trailers or not.
Right.
This is totally,
I probably got to the theater an hour before the movie actually, or the episode actually started, because I was in the same boat. Wasn't sure how packed it was going to be. Wasn't sure if there was going to be a line for concessions, and then wasn't sure if we were going to get trailers or not. So same boat as you, and that's funny. But the actual viewing experience on the big screen in a packed theater was very fun. I agree. We tested the waters out a little bit, like when the Stranger Things logo appeared, Nat gave a little woo, and nobody really did anything. Like one person clapped. We're like, okay, so we don't have a very fun theater, but actually seeing it on the big screen, obviously, if there's an episode to watch on this screen, it's this one.
Yeah, the theater I was in had several moments of applause. Throughout the theater, which was really cool.
There were several applause-worthy moments for sure.
Yeah,
my theater was kind of boring in that sense.
Yeah, that's a bummer. All right, well, let's get into the actual episode.
Yep.
It feels a little funny calling it an episode, considering it was feature film length, and we saw it in a theater. But a lot of other people did not see it in a theater, and I apologize. I've got a little cold, and I've been trying to not blow my nose, but I may end up having to mute myself briefly and blow my nose. So that I can actually talk as we go. So why don't we start off with your high-level thoughts on the episode, and then we can dive into some details.
Yeah, you blow your nose. So Pretty much immediately. You saw it a little before me, right? And you messaged me, enjoy the movie, and you kept saying movie over and over again, kind of as a joke.
Yeah, I was calling it a movie.
And I asked you, I was like, well, what did you think? Because I'm about to walk into the theater. You're like, do you really want me to tell you? And before I could respond, you sent me 5-star emojis.
In fairness, I waited like 2 minutes.
Yeah. No, you did. But I was in the process of trying to grab all my concessions, make it through the line, and respond to you. My hands are full. And then all you said was, they stuck the landing. So to me, I almost like could just like breathe, you know? I felt weight lift off my shoulders. I walked into the theater. Yeah. I told Nat, I was like, he said they stuck the landing. And she was like, yes! She was so excited.
Good.
So it made our viewing experience even better, like going into it, like with that almost level of comfort that like it had, Dad's stamp of approval, a thumbs up from Dad.
I'm glad that matters.
But I will say, did I agree with you or not? Yes, I agreed with you. I think that it's it's in contention with the Sorcerer episode for the best episode of the season, but I really do think it's one of the better episodes of the whole show. It's one of the better finales for a show that I've ever seen, in the fact that many finales often leave you feeling unsatisfied or rather upset. And I feel that I was nervous going into this one. I felt like they had so much to do in 2 hours, which feels like so little time. Yeah, you could say a lot happens in a 2-hour movie, but with everything that they've been building up over the course of the whole 5 seasons, I felt like we were rushing at the end. And so that's how I went into this feeling.
You did feel that way?
Yes. Like I felt like there was too much to do for a satisfying ending.
Before you saw this?
Before I saw this.
Yeah.
So as I'm sitting there watching, and I'm just going to say, starting now, we're going to kind of get into some spoilers. So if you haven't seen the finale, maybe click off for now, because
spoiler alert,
we're going to be talking about it. I pretty much had a feeling that we were going to be defeating the Upside Down near the halfway mark. We had to be, because there's just so much to wrap up.
Yeah. As
everything was happening, I just felt good the whole time. Every single thing they were doing, I'm like, this is working. This is working. This is working. This is awesome. Everything they took like all the issues and they just fixed them, or they like didn't repeat the same mistakes in the finale. They gave us a very satisfying finale. Was it a perfect episode? No. Was it near perfect? I'd say, yeah, it was near perfect.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I enjoyed it start to finish. Yes, I had some unanswered questions. I have some gripes. I have some things that I think could have been improved upon. But all in all, I think that the pros far outweigh the cons.
Definitely.
And listen, the degree of difficulty for landing this, we're talking about like, we're talking about like Carrie Strug level vault landing. It's hard to get a series like this that has such a complex world, so many characters, to actually conclude in a way that is satisfying to everybody. And I know that it's not satisfying to everybody. I think the internet's full of people that think it sucked.
Yeah.
But I think that the general audience is really satisfied. I'm pretty critical. I was very satisfied. You're pretty critical. You were very satisfied.
Yeah.
The fact that they were able to pull that off, it's so hard to do. So many shows drop the ball, and
it's nearly impossible.
And leave you disappointed. I mean, I think I could count on one hand the number of series where the stakes were as high as this, and they actually landed it. And I have way more examples of shows that left you feeling really disappointed, having invested so much time. So, I mean, from that perspective, I got to say, bravo to the Duffer Brothers and everybody else involved in the production, because they actually did stick the landing, and that's super hard. If you don't mind me keep coming back to this Carrie Strug metaphor.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were saying, especially before the finale, that this season was too similar to season 8 of Game of Thrones, in the sense that they have this amazing show and they're just dropping the ball and going to give us like this horrible taste in our mouth and nobody's going to ever talk about Stranger Things again. And I don't think that's even remotely true. I think it's, first of all, disrespectful to what Game of Thrones fans went through. And second of all, not even close to true.
You can't compare the two. It's not even close.
Not even close. This season of Stranger Things was never even remotely close to how bad Game of Thrones got. This was still a good season of television, and even more importantly, a really, really great and satisfying ending.
I agree. I think they did good. I would say a really great and satisfying first ending.
First ending?
Yeah.
As in, you think they're going to keep going?
Well, to an extent, but that's not actually what I'm referring to. I'm referring to one of my biggest gripes.
Okay.
About it though, and I don't know if we're ready to get there yet, but I think the ending and then the length of the epilogue is worth discussing. But let's not get into our disappointments just yet. So what about highlights? What were your high moments throughout this? Spoilers totally unleashed at this point.
Yes, spoilers unleashed. I personally was a big fan of the moment where, well, you always love when they make the plan and the plan goes wrong, right? So when the antenna wasn't lining up with the crevice or the gate, I love that. And I love the fact that the Duffer Brothers are at least in tune with the fan base enough to know that everybody has been terrified that Steve was going to die. So in that moment where Steve appears as though he may die and then is caught by Jonathan, I really did love that moment, almost just kind of as like a you guys are jerks kind of a thing, you know?
Maybe, yeah.
Just to mess with us a little bit, even though I didn't actually believe that they were going to kill Steve in that way.
No. Well, thank God that plan failed, by the way, because that plan made no sense. It never made sense. And I really was happy that they gave us the right conclusion for that plan, is that, okay, and it's fine. Our characters are dealing with supernatural, metaphysical consequences and stakes that they've never experienced. The fact that Steve, of all people, is going to come up with that plan, thank goodness it failed. I was happy because it didn't make sense to begin with. So
you're saying that it wouldn't have worked had it worked, or that the chances of it working were so unlikely? What are you...
I guess so ultimately what ends up failing is that the antenna isn't perfectly aligned with a crack.
Right.
How would they have known that the crack was there and perfectly aligned to begin with? That never made any sense to me at all. They knew where certain cracks were, but the crack that they showed us, it wasn't like they could have triangulated in some way this idea that the antenna was going to perfectly line up there.
So you're saying
the whole
likelihood
thing seemed like hubris to me. Yeah, it didn't make any sense anyway.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm glad that it went down that way. I am. What else? There are plenty of moments that I really liked. I liked the speech that Hopper gave Elle about why she deserved to live, like why she needed to live. I thought that was very, very well done, and also a really great moment where she responded to him, basically saying, like, you have to let me make my decision.
Yeah, I think that was one of the most poignant speeches of the whole thing when she said, "I'm not Sarah."
Yeah.
You know, that was powerful, and it was some of the best acting we got out of Millie Bobby Brown this season.
Yep. So then additionally with Hopper, the other Hopper moment for me was when Vecna invaded his mind. And when he shot Vecna, but it went through and hit the glass, my initial thought is, okay, crap, now we have a ticking clock because the water's going to come down. That's what I initially thought. It didn't occur to me that she could have been hit, right? Until like 2 seconds later, I was like, oh, well, she hit. And he opens it and he sees the blood. Now, this is one nitpick I have.
Okay.
Had Elle been hit, like clearly been hit once and was bleeding out, I could have believed that this was true. The fact that they reveal to us that Elle is dead now from having been shot by Hopper immediately told me, okay, so that's not real, right? So I kind of wish that they hadn't gone as extreme. They just made it seem like she got hit in a way where she was still in, but she was going to bleed out if she was in there too long or something like that. I would have been more on board with this. Like, me as an audience member would have been more sold on the idea that this was true. But because they went to the extreme of, well, he just killed her, I was like, he didn't just kill her. Like,
yeah,
he didn't just kill her. That'd be crazy if that's how this ended right here.
Yeah.
It kind of told me, okay, so this is fake. And I think that they could have pulled it over on me a little bit better by just going a little less extreme in that moment.
Fair critique. It didn't bother me in the moment, but it's a fair critique. I mean, for me, a big highlight was the almost redemption of Vecna. I started to get really nervous as Will comes to the realization that Vecna was in some way victimized, or Henry was victimized.
You and me both.
And so from a certain perspective, it ends up working really well, I think, because they both allow us to briefly sympathize with him, but then remind us, as Joyce delivers the 40 frickin' whacks with the axe, like Lizzie Borden here, that he doesn't get off the hook. We're not going to sit there and feel sorry for him. So I'm really glad that they allowed Vecna to stay true to the villain that he was, to say,
yes.
No, I chose this. I wanted this. We are one now.
Great line,
and
by
then,
the way. Great
and
line.
then to give us those like quick little flashback moments of all of the damage that Vecna had done. We couldn't realistically be like, oh, poor Henry. We feel really bad for him, you know? But there was just the right amount. But I did get nervous for a minute that they were going to over redeem Henry.
I was scared.
And yeah,
dude, as soon as that scene was happening and Will was saying, you can choose, like, all this different stuff. Like, you were just a kid. You're just like me. When this was happening, my wife looked at me and I just couldn't even look at her because she knew going into it. I was like, I don't want Vecna to be redeemed. Like, we can sympathize, but I don't want him to be redeemed. It's okay for a villain to be a villain. Like, it's okay. Because
agreed.
A lot of times recently, like in the last 10 years especially, villains can't be villains anymore. They have to be victims, or we have to completely empathize with them and they're really the heroes of their own story. That's an interesting take. That's an interesting thing to do with a villain. But even more interesting is we can see where things went wrong. We can see what was unfair, where they were manipulated. We can see all these things. But we can also see when they made the decision to become what they became anyways. Like, he said, like, I chose this. He didn't manipulate me. Yeah. He needs me and I need him. We are one. Like, in that line, we are one. Very good. So I was very relieved. I was very nervous, but very relieved with the way they handled it. And it was, I think, one of the better parts of the whole finale. I do agree with you on that.
I mean, I think the entire third act was pretty banging. Like the
third act of the first half. Is that what you're talking about?
The third act of the finale. I mean, the whole battle against.
Because I guess you're calling the epilogue after the third act.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So the third act. I mean, really, our story concludes at that point. But as the mind flare like comes up, and oh crap, that's not a weird funky tree. It's actually this creature. It was pretty good effects. I enjoyed it. I thought the monster felt it felt good. Like I liked the monster. I didn't feel unearned. It felt very Stranger Things like. Unlike say when Jurassic Park Rebirth or Jurassic World Rebirth, where we get this like really weird, hybrid dinosaur that doesn't even feel like it's part of this world anymore. This felt on par with Stranger Things.
It felt like the final boss of Stranger Things. Yeah,
and then the way that they were able to collectively fight it also didn't. It seems weird to say it didn't feel unrealistic, but it didn't. It felt right for the show. And I thought that even having Will get involved in that fight, the way that all worked, it all came together really nicely.
That whole fight. So from the moment that thing opens up and becomes the monster, I was locked in. I was already enjoying everything, but I was locked in. That whole 20-minute, maybe 20, 30-minute sequence, I thought was phenomenal. From the moment that Elle comes in and starts moving like how we'd expect her to be moving at this point. Like she's moving like a legit superhero, and it was and it felt like finally like this is what we've been wanting. We didn't want like the scene of her doing the obstacle course in the first episode looked really goofy. So I was nervous that something like this could, but it didn't. It looked great. The way she used her abilities, the way she jumped into the creature, the way she fought Henry, Vecna, even the way that Vecna fought. So this whole fight between them was like, it was like Avengers level. Like it felt like I was watching an Avengers movie in the best way. And then Will's involvement too, like although treated like a reveal in a way, I love the way they handled it because I literally like there's just this moment and you're like and we're all like, oh, it's Will. And it was Will. It wasn't like a surprise, but it was perfect. Like the culmination.
Even before that, it's 11. Like when the boulders hit the thing out of nowhere, my first thought was, what wait a second, what just happened? And they gave us just enough time. I found myself going, it's 11. That was handled really well.
And there were shots. There were shots in that moment. So she jumps into the creature, and then the shots leading up to her fighting Henry are so cool. Like you have this stare down that they're having, and it just looks, first of all, epic. And then there's this shot behind Vecna where you just see Vecna and the camera pans up, and then you see 11 standing facing him. Like it just felt epic. Like everybody in the theater, it was probably the moment where you could actually, in my very dead theater, hear the most like, ooh, like everybody. I went with my little brother, and we were like elbowing each other like crap. Nat's like sitting forward, like here we go. Like they just built the anticipation so well in that moment, and then the fight didn't let down. Like it was really good. I thought everything about that was handled so well, and like you said, the characters, the kids. On paper, this could feel so unrealistic. Like, really, like, what are they doing to this thing? But the way they handled it, each character kind of getting their moment. You know, Nancy walking down Wheeler, just kicking ass as always with her ARs and her shotguns. Mike making use out of the flare gun that she handed him, and Lucas getting to do his slingshot. The moment where Dustin and Steve are underneath, they're like, "For Eddie!" You know, like all this. Every single moment of this felt satisfying, and in the most ridiculous way, believable to the whole series and to each character. It was really, really cool, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, and culminated by a pretty satisfying coup de grace delivered by Joyce.
I love a well-placed F-bomb. I love... So for anybody who doesn't know this about me, this is important. For me, something I really love about PG-13 projects is the one F-bomb. Like a well-placed F-bomb can really make the movie for me. So I always like to play this game like, well, this PG-13 movie doesn't have one. Where would I put it? You know?
Yeah.
There's no other F-bomb in Stranger Things. Like I'm 99.9% sure. So when she said that, I was like, that was a good one. It was a good one. It was
a good drop. Yeah.
And real quick, just on this point, I have to give Nat credit because she walks up as soon as Vecna starts gurgling. She's like, "Oh, Joyce has to behead him." She said it, and I was like,
"Oh, nice."
And I was like, "Oh yeah, like she does have the axe. Like that's a good point." And I immediately was like disappointed because I was like, I don't know if they're gonna do that. I was like, if they don't do that, now I'm going to be disappointed because that makes so much sense. Like, let Joyce get her moment in because she kind of, if we're being honest, has really taken a backseat this season. So for her to get her moment finally, for her to be able to take the final swings, multiple, on like the predator who took her son, who did all of this to her kid and her whole family at that point, for her to have that moment, I felt was so earned. I didn't think about it as something that needed to happen going into the episode, but when it happened, it felt as though it always needed to go down that way.
Yeah. Yeah, she goes from wet noodle to wildly nuclear in one quick scene, and we get exactly what we needed out of her. Yeah, she has been a little sadly handled, I think, throughout this whole season. Yeah. Well, should we talk a little bit about any nitpicks or thoughts that we have about what we didn't like or what we would have preferred in this?
Yeah, I think you probably have more. I don't really have too many at all. I've already mentioned like one or two of them, and the one you're about to mention, I don't even agree with fully. So you go ahead and break it down.
Well, it's interesting you don't, and I want to hear why you don't, because it's something that we talked about in advance of this, and that was, I think you repeatedly said like there better be blood.
Okay.
You were.
This one I do agree with. Never mind.
So yeah, I think that the weakened, watered down stakes continue to be something that bothers me a little bit about the show.
Yeah.
I started to try and think about it a little bit. You mentioned Steve's death earlier. The Steve death fake out with the cut to black, and then what was 3-4 seconds of black before they came back to show us. It almost looks like they went to a commercial break, which we don't get in Stranger Things. On top of the fact that after Elle's very noble conclusion, we then retcon that a little bit within the same episode, potentially to say whether or not did it happen, did it not happen. There were so many throughout the history of this season. I think Hopper, Max, Brenner. He does ultimately die, but we get one fake death of Brenner. Will multiple times. Karen Wheeler, Ted Wheeler, Steve. In the finale, 11, 20 times we think she's going to die. They never actually create super high stakes with any of the characters that we really care about. In fact, I think if you go back through the history, with the exception of Billy, every other important death in this show is executed on characters who we only met that same season. Right. Bob, Eddie. Those are the two I think most important deaths other than Billy
in the first season.
But Barb, Christy, Fred, some of these other characters are just we meet them and then they die, and we're meant to like there's a certain level of shock value in some of the deaths. We're meant to really care. Certainly Bob's death mattered. Certainly Eddie's death really mattered. But they
also,
were who's that?
Alexi from season 3 also.
So these are all characters that we just met in that same season, and then they pass. I think honestly, I've racked my brain. I think with the exception of Papa and Billy, those are the only two characters that actually die in a season that we didn't first meet them, and everyone else is not that way. And so the death fake outs continue to bother me.
But in a way, they've kind of been telling us what they're going to do from the beginning. I
guess that's true. It reduces the stakes.
I agree.
And even when they tell us afterwards that maybe Elle's not really gone, it lessens the stakes for me in a way. Like, her sacrifice is noble. She told Hopper, "Let me make the decision," and she seemingly did. But then now are we supposed to believe that the decision she made was to fake everybody out? I don't know. It just, that part kind of bothered me throughout. I know that
you're talking about with Elle.
The whole strategy and history throughout the show of main character fake out deaths kind of bothers me, and I feel like we saw it repeatedly in this particular episode.
Yeah, I agree. I think
even Callie to an extent, right? If we're meant to believe Mike's retelling of the story, she wasn't really dead when we thought she was dead.
Yeah. So here's my thought on that. Yes, I agree. I think that I think a substantial death other than 11 needed to happen. And it couldn't be Hopper, and it probably couldn't be Will. And because there needs to be stakes, I agree. We knew it wasn't going to be Steve because of the arc with Dustin and so forth. There were other characters it couldn't be. But surrounding Callie, I pretty much immediately did not believe that what we were seeing was true, because that's the nature of her character, right?
With her death, you mean?
With her death. And so pretty much the whole rest of the episode, I was waiting for the reveal of whatever it was she was working on, basically, whether that be good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so the quote-unquote twist ending that we get in the last couple moments of Mike recounting what he believes to be true, I was actually completely on board with, for a few reasons. I think the nature of the situation works because, A, you have Callie, whose main thing, her ability is to change what you're seeing, to alter your reality, essentially. But B, I don't know if I said 1 or A, but 2, B, whatever, we don't get confirmation. This is treated as though it's what they're choosing to believe. And I think, for me, that's the very important distinction that makes it work for me. I'm glad we didn't at any point get a flicker of the lights around Mike when he puts the book back. Or, like, I'm glad we don't ever get any kind of confirmation. Even as an audience, we can... This is like an Inception ending. We can choose to debate for a long time. Did she survive? Is that theory correct, or did she die? I really appreciated the ambiguity of the situation, and I thought that it worked really well. So for me, that wasn't an issue. I also kind of never really wanted Elle to die. Well, I was kind of back and forth on it, but I felt that it was... So for me, it didn't feel like a cop out. Like, no, she needed to die. You know, like I liked the question at the end of it.
It didn't have to be her, but the stakes needed to matter. I think.
Agree.
And I think the mechanics of how they gave us that potential twist with Callie and Elle, I think the way that they left it ambiguous, all of that does work in and of itself. But it would have worked so much better had we not kind of believed that the stakes were not very high to begin with, had they not done similar things over and over and over again throughout the series. So I think that's why it failed to be as powerful to me as it could have been, because I almost expected them to do it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And they've done it with Elle before.
Yeah.
So,
and with Hopper and with they've done it several times. They did it earlier in the episode with Steve. So I think that to me is the issue.
So I know what your other main issue is, that the epilogue was very long. It was like,
it was 40 minutes long.
Yeah.
40-minute epilogue. That's as long as some of the episodes of the show.
Yeah. For me, this was not an issue. This is what.
Oh, it was.
This is what this
totally
needed.
An issue.
No. Now you're sounding like a hater of this episode. This episode needed to do this. We needed to see where everybody landed. We needed this time to know how things were after the fact.
I totally agree. I think it could have just been handled more economically.
No, I don't feel that there was really anything in this epilogue that I would have cut out. I thought it was all important. Yes, sure, you could cut it in half and make it 2 episodes, and the whole last episode could be an epilogue. But I felt that it worked perfectly fine. It gave us endings to each of our characters that felt very earned, very deserved, and very satisfying. I had no issue with this at all.
You feel like it was really important for us to have multiple callbacks to Jonathan's anti-capitalist cannibalism film, like that really gave you the conclusion you were looking for out of that?
This took up a minute. I mean, if that.
Listen,
like it's 3 or 4 lines of dialogue in a larger scene.
My critique is with an epilogue, and my critique is with an overall watering down of stakes for the entire series run, not just this episode. So I do love this episode. I think it was a good, worthy conclusion. I just think that, to me, it that epilogue should have been half as long at best. I think they could have done it in I think they could have just done it smarter is all. I think it could have been done in a more economical way.
So would you have had, the first half of the episode be 20 minutes longer and then take 20 minutes off the epilogue, or you think just 20
that would
minutes
have been
shorter
fine.
Overall?
The overall length of the piece itself was not my issue. It's just the amount of time spent on I don't know, on the wiping of the tears and figuring out, how everybody, the 18 months later thing. It could have been done better. I'm not saying we shouldn't have had one at all. We should have. We needed a conclusion, but I think that they didn't need to. I think they could have given us a little bit more credit as audience members. They could have left a few things unanswered and up to our imagination, and they could have handled things. There were a few things I feel like they did a couple times, and so it didn't necessarily work for me. I think it was the weak part of the finale, but it doesn't ultimately take away from my total enjoyment of the finale or how I feel like they landed the plane.
Yeah, I don't know. I just disagree. It all worked for me really well. I really appreciated the endings we got for each character, especially more so with our younger cast. and then Joyce and Hopper. Joyce and Hopper, that whole scene I thought was very good. There's been a lot of build up to this dated Enzos, you know. Obviously, this wasn't their first dated Enzos now at this point, but I'm glad we as an audience got to see that. Got the idea that they would be leaving Hawkins. Also, like, little nod to the fact that they're going to Montauk, which was originally the name of the series. So just
fun little Easter egg.
Yeah, just fun little thing there, and then their engagement. Like, I thought all of that was very well earned and important, and I'm glad it was there. I do agree with you. If we could have shortened anything, I think it would be with the 4 older kids.
That scene was
on the roof.
Wasn't my favorite at all.
Yeah, so I agree. If there was a part of this to cut out, it'd be that, in my opinion. Like, I feel like we could have kind of just had, you know, Steve coaching baseball and hanging out with Dustin, and then Robin in the tower doing her thing, and then like the others being alluded to or more so mentioned. So I do agree in that sense. I'll give you that. Now that I'm talking about it, I can kind of understand. We could definitely shave that down.
Realistically, you needed one good speech that was voiceovered, that we were cutting to different characters and seeing what was happening. We got 3. We got Robin in the radio station, where we basically saw that everybody was okay and good and how things were going. Then we get Dustin's valedictorian speech, where we do the same thing. We cut to all the different characters. Then we get Mike in the basement as well. And in between there, we get the rooftop scene with the adults and Mike and Hopper somewhere in there too, at the bench near the shrine.
Okay.
So it was just, I feel like at best 2, but probably they could have figured out how to do that in one true epilogue, and it kind of felt to me like 5 little epilogues.
Okay, so I kind of see what you're saying, but I still disagree. I don't think we needed one long 5 or 10 minute speech. I think the time they took was better than taking less time. I will say, if we need to cut something out, we can cut out Robin's speech and we can cut out the rooftop scene. That's what we can cut out, in my opinion. But Dustin's speech at graduation, very good. I really loved that. I thought it was great. And then I think that maybe Mike's speech at the end of the episode. So first of all, just the fact that they're going back to D&D, that it's ending on the scene that it started with in a way, but it's different. They're older. Max is there now, and a lot has happened. Obviously, I thought that was perfect. I thought it was genuinely perfect. I think that Finn Wolfhard's acting in this episode was the best it's been all season, maybe in a few seasons, probably, with obviously grieving Elle and then this scene as well. So I thought that his delivery of this speech, as we're calling it, was very good and very necessary. I thought that the last 5 to 7 minutes of the epilogue, being the D&D session, was really, really good and the perfect way to end the episode. I was almost concerned that as they're playing D&D and the mage comes out, I was almost concerned that 11 was going to walk through the door or something like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like they were almost trying to convince you that something like that was going to happen. And I'm glad it didn't. I just feel that whole portion was played perfectly. Not the whole epilogue, but that whole portion. So I think maybe 5 to 10 minutes could have been cut out, maybe, but I'm not upset at all. Like, I really did appreciate the entirety of the epilogue.
Yeah, I feel like more like 20, but I agree that the most powerful moment of the entire epilogue to me is how the torch is passed.
Yeah.
Holly and Derek and the rest of them push down past Mike and Will and everybody and start their game. Did you fart? Yeah, I mean that whole moment was great, with Mike looking down and being like, okay, yeah. I mean, it's gonna be, we're gonna evolve. Everything's moving forward. Yeah, I thought that was a really powerful moment, and it was good. It was a good way. I mean, honestly, they could have given us even more. Like, they were trying to wrap up so much. Thank goodness they didn't go into, what's been happening with Derek since this time. What's been happening with Holly since this time. What's been, like, there was just too much to cover.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And so I feel like they could have done it economically.
I don't feel like they overindulged because there were so many questions or like characters that we didn't really get answers to. Like we didn't get a whole lot to do with Holly, Derek, Mr. Clark, Erica, a lot of the parents and so forth. Like there are
Thankfully.
Murray, like nothing to do with Murray at all, I don't think. Like, so there were plenty of things that it didn't feel like it had to do every single thing. I felt that it did mainly focus on our main cast, and I appreciated that.
Okay. All right. Well, all in all, we liked this a lot. Where do you see this sort of in your pantheon of television history or finales in television history? Like, where have you thought about ranking this among your favorite shows of all time?
Yeah, it's pretty new, so I haven't really had too much time to think about it. I don't watch nearly as much TV as you do. I mostly focus on movies, but
yeah,
I've seen plenty of great shows that I love a lot. I think in terms of finales, this is really up there in like top 3 probably of like wrapping things up really nicely. I really appreciate how it ended. As in terms of the whole show, I would absolutely say that Stranger Things is one of my favorite shows. It's not my favorite.
Yeah.
It's not the best of the best quality, but every time I rewatch this show, I'm reminded why I love it so much. Every single time I almost forget. And as I'm watching, I'm like, yeah, this is a really good show. I love it a lot. So it's definitely up there. I can't definitively say what number it is. I mean, I could tell you that there are definitely things above it. For example, Breaking Bad, I think, is a lot better, and so forth.
A show that also managed to stick the landing.
Yeah, most of Game of Thrones, even though it did not stick the landing, and there's plenty of others. But I would absolutely have this top tier television for me, and a show that I would be happy to revisit every couple of years.
Yeah, I think this is definitely peak. I also haven't really had time to rank it, but I feel like if you take into account its cultural significance, at least in my lifetime and yours, it's top 10 for sure. I think it really mattered, and I think that they managed to deliver. So bravo to everybody involved, and I'm sad to see it go, but I'm looking forward to revisiting it soon. I want to rewatch the finale again.
Yeah, I might rewatch it today with my wife. She was saying she wanted to watch it, but I real quick I will say you said something interesting with like its cultural significance in your lifetime and mine. This is an interesting point because I can't really think of another show, and part of this has to do with like how like the gap between each season, like in terms of when it came out. But I actually vividly remember where I was for each season, like physically, but also in life. Like I associate each season with different seasons of life, which is really interesting. And I've talked about this a lot with friends and my wife and so forth, but this might be the only show in my lifetime so far that I genuinely like think of each season differently, and as like I can remember where I was in life at that time, who I was at that point, why this season was important to me, what and everything that was going on. That says a lot. So yeah. Easily top 10. Easily top 10 show for me.
Cool. You're going to have to make an edit.
Okay.
I have to pee really bad.
You can't even do homework?
No. I can't. I'm dying.
Oh my gosh.
I'll be right back.
I think I'm going to leave this part in. This guy.
Okay, I'm really sorry.
Shame on you. Shame on you.
Listen, I've been dying for the last 5 minutes, and I would be just doing this the whole time.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have cut back in by now, just so you know, because I want everybody to know exactly what happened there.
That is not fair.
And I think it's so. I'll cut
you don't
out
need
all
to
the
embarrass me.
It's not embarrassing. It's funny, but now everybody can watch you squirm. I, in hindsight, realize you've been moving a lot.
Yeah. Don't embarrass me, son. Don't embarrass me.
I mean, it's up to you whether or not you're embarrassed, really. So
come on, come on.
Okay, we talked about Stranger Things. We enjoyed the finale a lot. Should we dive into homework?
Yeah, let's do it. I gave you Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind.
Yeah, this has been on my list for a while. I I see this on everybody's list, like top 10 favorite movies, top 10 favorite movies, sometimes
It was
top 5.
It was top 10 on that New York Times list, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So this has been on my list for a long time. And I only knew a little bit about it going into it. And I will say that I really enjoyed it, but I'm not sure that I fully appreciated everything first time around. It was it was made a lot differently than I was expecting it to be made. It was a lot weirder than I had gone into it thinking it was going to be. And so I was pretty much positive I knew what was happening, like, because it plays with the timeline a little bit. I pretty much clocked that immediately. I appreciated the performances, the story, the love story, and there were many moments that choked me up, made me like cry a little bit, get really happy. Definitely a roller coaster of emotions. And so I really liked it. I gave it a 3.5. I know for a fact that that'll be going up when I revisit it, having sat on it, and also more so knowing what it is going into it.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you. I think that because I struggle so much with taking Jim Carrey seriously, that it hurts my appreciation of this film. And I definitely appreciate this film, and I think that it's really well done. I think that Spike Jonze does a great job with this particular movie. I think that Winslet is fantastic.
She is.
But I don't revisit it as often as I think I would need to in order to push it up as high on the list as so many other critics do, because I think it's the kind of movie that people have come to love and appreciate, and I think it takes multiple viewings to really get the full sense of everything.
That's my impression.
I think I've only revisited it once, to be honest, but I do think it's a really great film. But I also it doesn't make my top 10 either. But I do think that each time I rewatch it, I appreciate it more.
Yeah, that's the impression I get from this movie. So I definitely am very open to rewatching, probably a few times, because I was thoroughly entertained. I wasn't bored or thrown off by anything in that sense. I would absolutely watch it more and more. I gave you Sisu, Road to Revenge, the sequel to Sisu from a couple years ago. I kind of prefaced it as I hadn't seen it, but I wanted to watch it, and I figured you could watch it too. But I do have a confession.
You didn't watch it?
I watched most of it. I'm missing the last 30 minutes because I tried to finish it last night after Stranger Things at like 1 a.m, and I was watching and I totally just fell asleep. So, and I haven't had time to finish it this morning, but I have seen most of it. So I do have an opinion so far, but I'm curious yours.
Yeah, so I don't want to spoil the ending for you, but since you're still watching it, but I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. Listen, it is what it is, I guess.
Absurd.
Yeah, but done in a way that somehow feels more acceptable because it's paying homage in so many ways to so many other great films. It doesn't feel like it's falling victim to tropes. It feels like it is kneeling at the altar of really great works, you know? So, you know, I'm seeing Tarantino, I'm seeing Leone, I'm seeing all these really great films in this, and I'm enjoying it. I think there's something really cool about the fact that that our main character basically never speaks. This whole thing, you know, there's a bit of a John Wick thing going on with the dog and all this kind of stuff. You know, this one's a little bit more outlandish than the first one, but not so much so that I didn't like it. So for a John Wick-esque action film, that's, you know, revenge saga, as it were, I give it a 3.5. I think it's solid. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely gruesome and gory. I think for me, it lacked a little of the surprise that I got out of the first one, because I wasn't expecting much at all.
Yeah, we knew what the first was going into it.
Yeah, but generally speaking, I feel like it held up, although I don't think it necessarily took things to the next level the way that some of the additional John Wick films did.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, that was pretty much my exact impression with everything that I've seen so far. Just totally brutal, ridiculous, and exciting action with a little more than it just being an action movie. Like, it's got a little more there, story-wise, performance-wise. And, like, I mean, not to just use this word all the time, but there's just, like, an aura about this movie that just really works. Yeah. It's not just senseless action, even though in a way it kind of is. Yeah. It feels as though it's serving this specific story, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, hopefully you get to finish it soon.
Yeah, I'm going to finish it today.
All right, cool. You've got some homework for me this week?
I do. This week, I'm going to be giving you a movie that I just watched this week for the first time, and I have a feeling you're going to appreciate it. It's Blackberry on Hulu. Yeah. I had heard that this movie had no business being as good as it was with other movies coming out the same year, like Flamin' Hot for Cheetos and Tetris and all these other, you know.
I didn't mind the Tetris movie.
I haven't seen it. I'm going to. But my point is that they're making a movie about everything ever created, you know, at this point. At least it really feels like that. And most of them are completely lackluster or just okay. I feel like this one kind of excels. It's no Social Network, but I think it's really good. I think it's really up there. There's some really fun performances. Lots of moments that really made me laugh. Lots of moments that made me feel sick to my stomach. And so forth. And I think it's really funny watching a movie about, you know, like the conquest of the BlackBerry, all the while knowing, I haven't seen a BlackBerry in 15 years, you know? So I think there's a lot to appreciate here. I think you're going to have a really good time with it. And you can watch it on Hulu, by the way, because that's where I watched it.
Okay. Well, as a Gen Xer, having had a few BlackBerries in my time, it was my first experience with a quote-unquote smartphone, although I don't think it was anywhere near the or did we call them personal digital assistants? I'm trying to remember now. I'll have to catch up. But yeah, a phone that could actually send emails was pretty amazing at the time. But yeah, I get it. So yeah, I think it'll be an interesting nostalgia bomb for me.
Sweet.
I've been definitely wanting to watch it. Okay. Last week's episode, you mentioned that you had watched the house. What was it called? The Housemaid?
Yep,
right?
The Housemaid.
Okay. So I'm going to give you another Paul Feig film to watch, A Simple Favor.
Okay.
This one I think is maybe my favorite of his films.
Okay.
And dive in. It's a little thriller mystery whodunit-ish. A lot of intrigue, and I think it's funny and dark, and I hope that you like it.
Yeah, I'm excited. You know, right in my genre, so
yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, cool. Well, we've ranked, we've debated, we've disagreed, though not about who shot first. All just another day in the galaxy.
So whether you're Gen X, Gen Z, or somewhere lost in the timeline, please continue to listen, like, share, and subscribe to I Am Your Father.
Until the next episode, remember that with great power comes a great second breakfast, but winter is also coming, so may the Force live long and prosper with you.
I dump your ass.